We have Carrie with Colorado Horse Rescue Network on our podcast today, and super excited to have Carrie. We go back a ways, 2017, I think, to be exact.
It's it's been an adventure.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So I don't remember exactly how we got involved with having the one day open door shelter in Colorado and having you as the host organization for that. But I remember you brought something that was very interesting to the table because you're like, let's do a buyout program at this one day open door shelter. And I'm like, oh, what?
You were very skeptical. Yes, you were like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
And so then we did it was $100 buyout for the first, what was it, 20 horses? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And it kind of, I kind of sat back in my skeptical way and was doing the event and watching the people coming to the event. And there were those people who were like, no, no, I don't want the money at all. And I remember some horses that came in that were in such bad shape. I was like, the only reason that guy brought them here is for the $100. He would
Yes.
have taken them to an auction. He would have taken them to anything. So that was my first introduction to you and the buyout program. Um, and it was a very busy event. There was over like 30 horses surrendered, I believe.
I think we had 27 that were surrenders that were brought back to CHRN or other rescue partners, and I believe that there were 6 that were surrendered, mostly for the purpose of euthanasia.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Sounds about right. But I think the event went very well. Um, and it was great to meet you. I know we went to your facility and um it was all around. I had a great time hanging out with you
Yeah,
at that event.
absolutely. We were
Uh,
definitely kindred souls from the start.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So then fast forward, we start this whole full circle life mentoring grant opportunity, which you signed right up. And ended
Yes.
up being ponytails the first year, but the second year you ended up you ended up winning. But it was a bit of a trial and journey for you. Like you were on a whole nother battle of your own when we went into this, and it was scary. Like I was, oh, just from my side, I was like, oh, it was just rough. But I'll let you talk about that.
Well, it was weird because we didn't have a ton of information when we initially applied um, for the program and everything that was going on. We didn't know how long my battle was going to be. We didn't know the full details and stuff like that. And then um, when we applied on the premise of we were already trying to start a full circle of life program because we believed in the program so much. We figured even if we're not going to be part of it in an official capacity, we were going to institute the program here because you'd made it clear in season 1 that you wanted that program implemented other places. So we figured, well, we'll start here and see how it goes and see if it's something we can make work. And then when we got selected, it was it was very good timing because I had, like I say, just found out about my breast cancer diagnosis. I was only 36 at the time that I was diagnosed. And I had a very aggressive stage 2 cancer. And it was a moment of, are we going to make a go of this rescue or are we going to back off while I go through whatever it is my battle's going to be? Because at the time, we didn't know how long the battle was going to be, if it was going to be successful. You just don't know those things until you're much further into treatment than I was at the time. And like I say, it came together really well that the timing of the whole thing was okay, well, you guys have kind of put out there that you need a helping hand. You need that I don't want to say life raft, but really you need a life raft to keep this thing floating. And here we are. So we're going to help and we're going to give you guys more skills and we're going to teach you some new techniques and we're going to give you some great ideas and you guys should be able to make a go of everything that you're doing if we can help in any way. And you guys kind of tailored everything to our rescue, which was the best part of it, because, you know, the things that work right there at Horse Plus aren't going to function for us in Colorado with our already established program, because we didn't want to change who the rescue was at its foundation. We just needed to grow it and make it capable of doing that full circle of life program. And when we got the news that, oh my God, they're coming, it was, like I say, it was the life raft that we needed at that time to know that the mission that we were on was a true one and that we needed to stay on it.
I remember when I found out that you had cancer, that it was just like, wow. I mean, we're going into this journey. I mean, you didn't know if you were going to make it. And like, it was just, I mean, rough. Like, I mean, so many people are fighting cancer, and, you know, for you to, at your young age, to be fighting it and not knowing what the outcome was. But I think we were all like, we're just going to jump into this full-heartedly and run with it. And I am so glad that we're sitting here today talking, and you've made it through that horrific chapter. That was rough.
Well, it was rough, and literally um, just over a week ago, we did lose um, one of the gals that went through my cancel battle with me.
Mm.
Uh, she was a friend in horse rescue. She'd adopted from us. She was very involved in equine welfare, and she started her cancer journey a little after mine, and hers was a little further along by the time they found it. And she was just called home, like I say, not just over a week ago.
Mm.
So the realism of, there's a lot of us that don't make it through these kinds of battles is there. And I did recently have a scare and ended up having to go in for a lot of testing and scans. And it does look like everything is still on course, and that the scare that I had is just, going to be part of the weird things that happen after you've been through almost 2 solid years of cancer treatment. And they said that everything should be fine for now. But I mean, anytime you feel anything, that's the worst part of cancer. Any lump, any bump, any weird feeling, any pain anywhere, you automatically think, and it's back. And
And that's
with the
always,
type of cancer that I had, if it comes back, the chances of you beating it a second time are a lot lower.
you're a fighter, you're an amazing person, and I just think that you have so much to offer this world. And you're so selfless with just helping so many horses, and you're so passionate about it. And it's just been such an honor to have you as part of the Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network. Um, so you won, and people can go back and watch your whole season, because you had a whole season that was dedicated, season 2 of Horse Rescue Heroes. Just an amazing season to watch. It's emotional though, because there was a lot going on.
So really the most shocking part was the people who didn't know me that contacted me after watching our season and said, I don't run a rescue, but I'm, a mom, I'm a horse owner, you know, I'm dealing with the same type of cancer that you are. Just wanting to reach out and hear that there's someone out there that took it and continued on. And I don't want to say that I continued on like I wasn't fighting cancer, because it was clear even through the episodes. You see a slow, gradual progression of me losing my hair. You see a slow, gradual progression of um, the roller coaster of me losing and gaining more than 40 pounds during the cancer treatments. You see, at one point, my eyebrows and my eyelashes were completely gone, and we were trying to cover it in some of the filming. And for them to see that I wasn't really covering that up, and that I was sharing that openly, gave them the thought that, they can absolutely go through this and get through to the other side without losing who they are as a person, because so many people lose who they are to cancer before the cancer is even a threat to their life. They have to make so many life changes to live with it that it makes it difficult for them to carry on afterwards.
So many people connected with you. I know you got some strange gifts in the mail and all kinds of things. And I think one of the best thing was though is once your episode aired, you got like a whole semi load of hay delivered to you from somebody that watched the show.
Um, and actually, it ended up happening again not terribly long after that. So just through people that had watched the show and had, bonded with us just through watching us on, season 2, we had an initial donor that called our feed store and paid for a load of hay. Didn't give us a heck of a lot of warning. I mean, nothing. The feed store called and said, somebody just called and gave us a credit card number for an entire semi load of hay. And I'm like, do you know who? And she said that the person had actually really kind of wanted to remain anonymous. And then, not even 6 months after that, we had another contact from someone in Utah who reached out and said, I saw that you guys are stretched thin through this winter, and I want to help in whatever way I can. And I'm going to send you X number of dollars, and I want you to buy as much hay with it as you can. And it ended up buying more than a semi load.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was amazing gifts. I must be honest that those maybe weren't my favorite sentimental gifts, because the fake breast that was sent to me, I mean, just wins over anything else. And that was, to this day, it still sits in my sock drawer in my bedroom, and is a reminder every time I open my sock drawer of exactly what this journey was and the crazy, wonderful people that saw me through.
So you kind of opened up that you got, I said you got strange things in the mail, and
Yes.
you're always very blunt and stuff comes out. So you got a fake breast in the mail, but there
Yes.
was a reason for that. Like they watched the
So
TV show and came to the conclusion they needed to send you one.
yes. So I had a double mastectomy, and I actually did do reconstruction, and I didn't mention that I had done reconstruction. So a lot of people figured that after my double mastectomy, I had just remained flat. And a lot of women after that will wear implants so that they still appear normal when they're in public. And during filming, my husband likes to really drive it home that he has nipples still, and I don't. Talk about the bluntness. And he likes to flash me. And so he decided to flash me off camera, and it made me crack up. And you guys got it on film, and of course, put it in the episode, because why would you not? And shortly thereafter, a wonderful gal sent me a little padded fake breast, and said that the next time he did that, I could take it out and throw it at him.
Oh, oh my. Well, it is you never know what you're gonna get in the mail. And
No, no,
that's definitely up there.
it wins. It's the winner.
Yeah, definitely. So after your season was KT, and you came out and helped
Mm-hmm.
mentor with that. And what was your thoughts of KT and kind of when you met her with the Rocking KT Equine Rescue Refuge?
Almost immediately upon meeting KT, I don't know, I was more drawn to her than I was anybody else that particular season. I don't think that there was anybody that I, just went in there and was like, I'm on the fence on this group. I liked all of them. I was just, I don't know if it was that KT had had her own personal trauma and some things that she was going through. You could tell right away that she was working through things, because she wore the same mask that I did when I worked through things. And immediately I was like, oh, there's something deeper there. And before she had even really gone into conversation on it, I had known, like I say, that she was working through something, and it wasn't any of my business what it was. And had she never shared what had happened, I mean, that would have been her business all along. But my feeling on it was just, I'd been there. I'll help you, through how to work through life trauma and run a successful rescue at the same time. And she and I bonded through that. And I, from the beginning, knew that, like I say, I was going to help her fight her way through proving to everybody else that she was the right one to add. And honestly, after seeing her work through season 3 and then seeing her come back, last year and watch the wonderful mentorship that she offered everyone, it's clear that she was the right one from the beginning. She really was. She was a puzzle piece that fit right from the start.
Yeah, and she had gone through so much, and in the episodes it comes out that she lost her baby like weeks before she came out to boot camp, and just the struggle that she went through. And she is a very brave, courageous woman. And this last season when she was out and she, has her whole family there and her new little baby, it was amazing. She was so happy. And
Oh,
she's
the minute we found out she was pregnant, we immediately sent baby gifts for baby Griff because I was just I don't think I've ever been so excited for somebody else to be pregnant because it was just, it was a gift she needed right when she needed it. And that kid has grown up on her hip while she's out there, working horses, doing whatever it is she's got to do. She's out there and he's there right along with her the whole time and is just the happiest, chubbiest, cutest baby ever.
Yeah, I know he's an awesome little guy. I remember one thing that really stood out with that last year's season was we went on a rescue mission with KT to an area where we actually had started, like it was where the same town where I went to get the first horse when I was a teenager that started this whole thing. And this lady had all these horses and she was so rude, and KT just plowed through it all, handled it, helped all these horses. Like I was like, she has got guts and she's got what it takes to really help horses in a significant way. Um, so it was awesome having her join the network and win the grant. And I remember when we had the grant, we were trying to say who, because you had the actual check, and Jason and I are talking to him about who's going to win. And I just couldn't barely even contain myself when it came to like you're good, like KT, you're the winner. Like I just finally just had to blurt it out because it was just like she was so deserving of it. And all the contestants that year were just amazing, very sweet. They wanted and New Hampshire with all those kids up there, like it was a very unique season. But we're really happy that KT won and that you got a really good connection with her.
No,
And
that season you couldn't have gone wrong. You could have picked any group that was there and it wouldn't have been the wrong decision. I just think that as far as moving forward in the role that when you win, you immediately need to understand that after you learn, you need to be able to mentor further. And I think that she has absolutely made the best mentor out of anybody that we could have ever wanted.
yeah, no, she's amazing. And so then we jump into this season, which was last year now that we're in this new year and we're gearing up for season 5. And we had the workshop, which was a conference style, and that was really fun, and different. What was your take on it?
That has been my favorite part and probably the pinnacle of everything that we have done with Horse Plus so far. I thought that was the most amazing educational opportunity. Even the rescues who walked away from it and said, maybe we don't want to be part of the Full Circle of Life program, all said, we've walked away learning so much that it doesn't matter if we wanted to become part of the program or not. We learned everything. We covered so many topics. In fact, I wish there was more time for more topics because there's a lot more that I think could have been covered and things that I myself would, want to see covered and have more information on, and I need to learn more information on. So I think that was kind of the pinnacle of everything that you've done, because it didn't matter if they were a Full Circle of Life participant or not, or if they were interested in becoming a Full Circle of Life participant. It was, here is all this information, and we just want you to have the information. We don't care how you go home and use it. Use it to your advantage. Take what little pieces of this are going to work for your rescue when you get back home, And I don't think there's a single organization that could say that they went there that wasn't bettered by the information that was offered.
Yeah, no, I think the workshop was just amazing. And I think it was kind of hard to portray how amazing it was in the episode because you really have to be there to hear these other organizations, and us all collaborating together. And I mean, it was amazing. And really excited we're gearing up to do that again. So that's going to be awesome with another workshop. So then we go forward and we have boot camp, and um it was great getting like everybody together, like ponytails and KT, like we all came together, and that was amazing. And for me it was just awesome.
I agree. This year, the camaraderie just seemed different than years prior. We actually hung out after hours off camera. We actually had, people that we had things in common with that we sat down and had barbecues with. We went out to dinner with. Even during the initial workshop, I had rescues that we'd never worked with before, that I've never met before, that we sat down and had meals with and talked about non-rescue things. And just the camaraderie of the group was so much different this year. And while they all knew that they were in competition, everybody still got together and everybody still had good conversation and good fun. And I laughed more this year than I have ever laughed during any of the prior seasons, because it was just amazing, the stories that everybody was sharing and the experiences that everybody had. And I don't know if my mentality was different because I was 100% through all of the cancer treatments and I had seen through the worst of it and was really optimistic about the future. Maybe that weighed into it, but it just felt like the camaraderie was different this year. And I don't know if you felt the same. It felt different.
Doing the workshop, I was very hesitant because I have gone to other, little events or something, and it's like, oh, we're going to do a horse rescue talk, and you go in and like nobody talks to each other. It's like sheets of ice everywhere. And that's what I didn't want to have happen at the workshop. And at first, I felt like it was there a little bit, but by the end, like I think they all felt like we're all family. And we realized that, horse rescue people, they live an interesting life. And when you can see and connect with other people that are all living that interesting life, it's really good and refreshing for all of us.
The whole group that we had, even at the workshop, were, like you say, right at first, it felt a little bit icy. That first morning walking in felt a little icy. Nobody knew where to sit. Nobody knew, where they should be and who they should hang out with and what tables they should be at. And everybody was kind of staking territory like it was going to be one of the many rescue events that I've been to as well. Here in Colorado, we have some events where sometimes everybody gets together and it feels like a lot of camaraderie, and sometimes you get together and it feels like, everybody's sitting there on pins and needles and everybody's just, waiting for some sort of moment to, you know, talk about a rescue that's sitting at a different table or whatever it is. And it feels, a little more like a way to sit around and spread drama than it does a way to get more information. And then by lunch, I don't even know if it took till lunch, but by lunch, everybody was kind of swapping tables around a little bit. People were moving, people were talking during the breaks. And in the hallway, people were standing there having good conversation and asking lots of really good questions, really, really good questions. And some of the people were asking really hard questions. They had heard so much about, Horse Plus's euthanasia policy, and they were scared being at this workshop that if they became part of it, that they were going to have these horrible euthanasia numbers. And I'm like, you guys need to really sit back and pay attention to, what the inner workings are and what kind of horses they're receiving there before you start to judge any of that. And to say our euthanasia policy didn't change one bit through any of that, but people were so scared walking in there that, my apologies, cat. people were so scared walking in there. And then by lunch, everybody was just like, oh, whew, this is great. We're learning a lot of good stuff. We're learning a lot of good information. After lunch, people had started, like I say, moving around to different tables. There were people that were like, oh, come sit at our table, come sit at our table, and wanted to have friendly conversation and wanted to hang out. And it just changed. And from then on out, the next morning, all the tables were almost totally different. It was weird going in there the next morning because the spot that I'd been out the morning before, I was like, oh, surely somebody left it for me. I'm the season 2 winner. Of course they left my table spot alone. And oh no, my table is totally crammed full of people. And they were like, oh, well, we were hoping you were going to sit here with us. So, I mean, we had to like pull up an extra chair, and it was amazing. Everybody just got to where they wanted to work together as a team and have, lots of talks about what they see and what they haven't seen. And it was amazing there by the end. It was definitely, like I say, the feeling was different this season. It was different at the workshop, and then it was different when we went back for boot camp. Everybody just seemed that much more in tune on, we're going to work together to make this happen.
I think every season of Horse Rescue Heroes has been very different. And I think the workshop is just amazing because horse rescue, there's no manual, you're going to learn from people who've done it the longest. And prior to, the Full Circle Life Horse Rescue Network program, there wasn't anyone. I mean, there might be like, oh, come here, we'll talk about horse rescue, but there wasn't like the actual nitty-gritty details of horse rescue. So I think we've definitely helped a lot of organizations, the networking and all of that. And, if horse slaughter ends, we need a strong network to help these.
Oh, that's going to be ground that has never been experienced before, because if the SAFE Act, and I mean, honestly, it feels like this is going to be a thing now. Before it's always felt like, God, I wish we could get it passed. God, I wish we could get it passed. Now it feels like, all right, folks, buckle up. This is going to happen, and it's going to happen maybe sooner than some folks think it's actually going to get passed. And it's going to be an all hands on deck situation, because so many of these rescues are going to be entering new territory. These rescues who engage in feedlot rescue, and I know that's a whole different conversation for another time, but all of these rescues that engage in feedlot rescue now, these horses are, instead of somebody being able to lie and say, oh, we're going to ship this horse on Monday, yeah, that's not going to be a threat anymore. That's going to be a whole different situation. And these rescues that used to have mass amounts of funding for mass bailing, where are those donors going to go? Those donors are going to start searching around for other rescues to support and decide if they want to stay with the rescue they've been supporting or if they want to put their money elsewhere. And a conversation I've had with several other big rescues that don't participate in, feedlot bailing is, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be very confused on how to move forward. And that's when we're going to need to present the most united front ever, because now, even though slaughter numbers are down, I mean, that's still going to be however many thousands of horses have shipped that are now going to need to be absorbed. And are they going to need to be absorbed into rescues, into private homes? Are they going to end up, where are they going to end up? There's just so many ifs, ands, or buts. And with so many rescues already at capacity, now you're going to add 10, 20,000 horses more. Where are they going to get absorbed if you don't have organizations that are capable of taking in, more horses than they're used to taking in right now? That's for sure. Everybody's going to have to tighten up their belt and say, we're going to do our part and we're going to take in what needs to be taken in. And that's a year. I mean, that's how many horses per year are going to need help. That's not a one time and done. This 20,000 horses or whatever gets absorbed and then we're good. I mean, that's going to need to happen every year. That's the surplus horse situation in the United States. So that's going to be foreign territory.
It's going to be a whole new chapter for horse welfare. And like you said, we're very close to it. I went up and lobbied in Washington, D.C., and I really, really do believe that horse slaughter could totally be outlawed this year.
Yes.
And I plan on lobbying some more. And I truly think that, the SAFE Act has been around for a long time and everyone's like, oh, it's never going to pass. I really, really feel that we're closer to it passing than we've ever been before. And that's why the Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network is so critical and important, because you're going to have all these horses that the traders are used to shipping to slaughter. And now the owners are going to need to be responsible. The rescues are going to have to step up. And, horses won't have a slaughter price in their head. So that's going to be very, very interesting. But jumping into horse slaughter, because there's a whole lot of things that happened at boot camp. There was some drama, and we touched a little bit on it, but maybe you can talk from your perspective of kind of boot camp, and then we'll jump into the buyout program.
This is going to be a soapbox moment, so I need a beverage. So
Okay.
let me.
So you can kind of be blunt. Maybe like, let's not be blunt. Let's not say names. There
No,
was
no, no, no,
there
no,
was
no, no, no,
drama that happened, and
no, no.
it put us in a rough situation, because the drama that was happening, I was like, this is a program that we are developing and growing on the long term. This isn't just like, oh, we're here to have fun. And things that were happening were just like, this can never be repeated. And if we don't show a little of what happened, somebody else is going to come in and run with this whole thing again. But anyway, so how was boot camp for you?
Boot camp, like I say, it was a better sense of camaraderie with a majority of everybody that was there than I had ever felt before. And it was so fabulous having KT there helping, and, and realizing that everything that I had said to her, that she had taken away as major points in what our conversations were. I literally heard her saying the exact words that I had given her to other organizations, and they were words that you had given me. And just knowing that that had now passed from, mentor to student, and then the student became the mentor, and it just kept going and going, and to know that that information is going to be passed on, by Utah is is amazing, to say the least. The camaraderie was fabulous. I'd say the weirdest point of the whole boot camp, because there's always, a little, there has to be a little bit of drama when you get that many horse people in one place. That's just horse people in general, I guess. But it seemed a little weird, even at the original workshop. There seemed to be a little bit that we saw from one organization that was a bit more, they weren't asking as many questions as they were just sharing their own experiences and stories, and wanting to impart their wisdom on other organizations, which is fine. Everybody comes from a different background and can absolutely offer things. But when people are asking things specific to the Full Circle of Life program, if you haven't experienced it, worked it, lived it, it's difficult for someone to really, share their experiences and say that those are the experiences of a Full Circle of Life shelter, because they were not. And as it came to boot camp, it seemed to stay that way. Um, it it was just, there was one group that was just a little different in how they played the game than everyone else. And to say that it's playing a game, I mean, it is a competition. You have to understand, you have to put your best foot forward. And your best foot forward is, yes, partly competitive, but also you've got to show that you're the organization that's going to do the most good, that's going to do the most spreading of knowledge. And that's what you guys are looking for, clearly, is the organization that's going to be the best, sitting at this, this round table that you've created, that is, turned into a wonderful sounding board now. And we want people that are going to be the ones that play well with others, I guess you could say. And yes, you absolutely want to have the drive to go in there and win it. KT expressed that from the beginning. She had the drive. She wanted to go in there. She didn't care she was there by herself. Nobody else was there from a rescue. My kid had to step in and help her out with some of the challenges because she didn't have anybody else there. And I had so much support, for her being there by herself. But she wasn't ever and I don't think cutthroat's the right word, but she wasn't ever unfair about how she went about things. She was always extremely professional in the level of competition, that she was in. She showed a lot of competitiveness, but remained, a friend to all of the other groups as well. And it did feel at boot camp like there was a group that maybe felt they were, and I don't even want to say above the others, but there was a group that wasn't asking, tons of questions. There was a group that just wasn't as interested in the nitty-gritty details of the process and the nitty-gritty details of how do you deal with this when you go home at night and all the things that come with running a full circle of life program, because it does get harder. You are a program that is now focusing on all of the horses. You are no longer just focusing on happy stories. You're focusing on every single story. You're agreeing that there is no horse life more important than the other, that you're going to take in anything and everything regardless of how long it's going to be with you, whether it's days, weeks, months. And that's hard. And every other group discussed how do you deal with that, because it's easy to do rescue when you keep the happy rainbow sunshine stories, the unicorn stories. It's a lot harder when you start to see the dark side of the horse world. And it really alarmed me that they were not as concerned about the long lasting effects of entering rescue in full capacity, where you are going to be dealing with situations that may make you lose sleep at night. You're going to be dealing with situations where you're seeing the worst of mankind. You're seeing some really dark things. And that concerned me more than anything else, that they were not concerned about that part. Not even that they weren't asking questions about programs we ran or anything we did, because our one day open shelter morphed into a whole different situation that turned into an equine assistance weekend. And everybody was so curious about how to do it. And so far, other rescues have reached out to us about how do we implement that here. And even while we were there, they were asking questions. Oh my gosh, we really want to get into that. How do you guys get grants for that? How do you support doing that? And they never asked a single question about any of those programs, which are huge community outreach programs, because they keep a horse that may end up in a rescue in its home. And there isn't any better work that a rescue can do than keeping a horse that may end up in a rescue in a home that already loves and cares for it.
Absolutely.
So thinking that that wasn't their main goal was a little disheartening. And other things ended up happening, but I wasn't party to some of the other things that happened, and I didn't think much of it really until the very, very end. And when it was all said and done and the whole situation had come down and we were on our way home, we, I did receive a text message from the organization that really was just a little bit accusatory and, oh, well, what did we do wrong? What could we have possibly done wrong? We were doing so well. A lot of these things that just make you a little concerned about the fact that they weren't there for horses, they were there for them.
It was challenging, and there were things that we had to address. And we don't know who's going to win. I think anyone who has really watched the horse rescue hero season, like, we don't know, like, we literally don't know. We're sitting there talking about it, who should win this grant. But to go around to our staff and ask who is winning was just put our staff in a really awkward situation. But I don't know, I wasn't going to say this part of it, and I think you might have known about it, I'm not sure, but it came out later that there was a horse that got loose onto the property behind us, and there was, horses do get loose, but it was kind of chased out, and anyways, ran into the woods. But the horse came back. But there was a rumor that Jason went out there and shot the horse, and I'm just like, like, what on
They
earth?
don't know Jason very well, do they?
No. And I'm like, for one, y'all were out there chasing the horse. You couldn't find it. How is Jason gonna just walk out there and shoot this horse? And why on earth would we do that? But there was just some things that were so malicious that I'm just like, huh.
This is the same Jason that posts Chihuahua videos,
Yeah,
right? Because I'm
yeah.
just making sure.
Like I don't know. It was just there was things that, we didn't talk about in the episode, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, just rough. But anyways, the horse came back alive and well, got transferred to another organization. It was not shot in the woods, but there's just craziness. But moving on from all of that, after boot camp, the auction banned us, and we relied heavily on the buyout program to continue rescuing horses.
Mm-hmm.
And rescued almost 200 horses with that buyout program. And every month we've been doing it. And it's been a wild ride. And I'm still trying to figure out how to run the buyout program on a really large scale. So far it's been successful, but there's just so many horses out there that need help. And a lot of horses are owned by traders that go to these auctions. They'll go to one auction, they'll buy a horse, they'll take it to the next auction, and it's just a cycle. And those horses are fueling the slaughter pipeline and the traders that are bringing them in. And there are a lot of traders being like, this buyout program's nice. And the horses that we're getting, and the number of horses is just like so hard to get. I mean, we could have 40 horses every week in here through the buyout program. And it's like, we don't rescue them, they're going to slaughter. But it takes a lot. And I'm still, if we had all the funds and could rescue all the horses, I'd figure out a way. I mean, we have 2 full-time veterinarians here now and everything, but it's really amazing how people, just the public, are very happy about it. But actually seeing where it could be an alternative, if say slaughter doesn't get outlawed, I truly hope it does. But to have organizations that are out there saying, don't take your horse to the slaughterhouse. Yeah, we know the slaughterhouse will pay you money, but we'll pay you money for that horse because we don't want it to go to the slaughterhouse. And, one of the goals for me with the Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network is to really be able to graft a plan where organizations can do buyout programs across the United States. Because if we can get these horses before they go to the next auction and not be paying commission fees and all these things, getting them the help they need. Like, we've had crazy fancy horses come in through the buyout program. We've had a lot of broken down horses that their owners walked away from them and they wanted the slaughter price instead of doing the right thing at their veterinarian's facility. So it has been a wild journey, but I am so grateful to you for paving the way for the buyout program and opening my eyes from being skeptical back in 2017 to being like, wow, this is a program that is ultimately better than auction rescues, because you're intercepting these horses from just going to another auction, and being exposed to all that disease. Every auction is just a host for disease.
Oh, absolutely. And at least our experience has been a very small percentage of the people, or sorry, even a very small percentage of the people that take our buyouts are families that really do need that money to go and buy groceries. I've had people that asked if we could trade, instead of them getting the money, me trading them dog food, me trading them for some groceries. We had one gal that said she lived very remotely and she was a senior, and said, instead of coming out and picking up my horse and bringing the $100, could you bring 2 gallons of milk and some bread and a couple of other little things that didn't come anywhere close to amounting to $100? and bring them out to me because I can't drive anymore and I only get to town maybe once a month. And when a neighbor takes pity on her, and I said, this is insane. I said, send me a shopping list. Like, what do you need? Anything you need, we'll just bring it to you. And we took her $200 and some worth of groceries because everything she asked for, we bought in triplicate that, we could possibly supply her with. But a vast majority of the people who do want the buyout are people who are strongly considering auction, and you are merely taking an extra step out of it and saying, well, you don't have to go to the sale barn and wait to unload your horse and then wait for them to mail you a check or wait till the end of the auction, which horse auctions always seem to run to ungodly hours, and wait for your check at the end of the night and, have to go cash the check and do this and do that. We're just going to show up and we're going to hand you the money, and then we're going to take your horse. Or you can come here and drop off however many horses it is you need to drop off, and we're going to give you the money, and you don't have to go to the sale barn and wait in line and mess with all of that. And some of these places have even been attracted to the buyout because they don't want the horse entering public domain. They don't want people knowing that that horse went to a sale barn because the horse has identifying characteristics, identifying brands, the horse is well known, whatever. And they want that last bit of money, but they also don't want anybody on social media belittling them for dropping it at the sale barn. So they bring it here instead. A vast majority of the owners who are taking the buyout are, like I say, people who are just going to take it to an auction anyway. And we just eliminated that step and made it easier for them to not have to go to the sale barn. But I mean, that's probably 75% of the buyouts we see. And I got to be honest, buyouts by far, even over auction purchases, are our biggest group of euthanasias. And I think that's because these owners that have horses that they know are euthanasias see that last dollar that they can squeeze out of them and not have to worry about end of life costs, and contact us and say, we want to surrender this horse to you. And then they give me this laundry list of everything that's wrong. And I say, have you considered euthanasia? And they almost always say, yes, but, yes, but. And sometimes it's, I can't afford it, or I can't deal with it mentally, or whatever. And then they bring the horse here and we do what we can to help. And it's just, some horses you can't help any longer. And that's, like I say, of our buyouts, I would say so many of them have ended up needing, the last act of kindness, because the issues and the conditions and the health issues are just, I mean, out of this world, worse than you even see at an auction. Because at an auction, somebody might be embarrassed by taking their rack of bones, or their horse that's about ready to fall over dead, or their horse with a badly healed knee fracture, and they don't want to take it to the sale barn because they're worried it might not even be allowed to run through. They can bring it to me and I'll pay them regardless. And we're very firm on the no questions asked policy on the buyouts. I don't care what condition that horse shows up here in. I'm not calling law enforcement. I'm not going to involve any of that. The fact that you were ready to get rid of that horse and do the right thing and make sure that that horse was treated humanely, that's good enough for me. And I don't want to discourage people from surrendering or doing buyouts with us by contacting law enforcement, because law enforcement's just going to tell them to get rid of it anyway.
They're going to tell them to take it to the auction. And that's what's so frustrating. I think the public sees, and I know the auctions you go to aren't as bad as what we see in Tennessee, at least from what you tell me. Like Tennessee is horrific. I can go to, like another country and show them what horses are being sold at auctions in Tennessee, and they're horrified. They're like, this is the United States. And I'm like, it's Tennessee. But with the buyout program, you're stepping in and you're saving these horses. And as long as there's a slaughter price out there, these horses are gonna just they're gonna go to auctions. And if you can prevent that from happening, I mean, that's so key. I wish none of this had to be even talked about or discussed. I wish, this wasn't even, we were all put out of jobs. But the reality is there's thousands of horses and horrific situations, and slaughterhouses accepting them. And if we can rescue horses regardless of their condition and give them the very best, if that is the last act of kindness, if it's finding them a new home, just rescuing them for who they are. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. Absolutely.
And like you say, it's difficult because sometimes you get some kickback from the people who follow you and say, what exactly is your mission here? You're just taking these horses in to euthanize them. Or why are you giving people money for horses that they should be responsible with and put down on their own? Or why are you giving money to someone who is kind of known as a horse trader? And why are you giving money to people who have abused this horse or allow it to live like this? And honestly, I don't care about the human being that's involved. I'm only there for the horse. I don't care what that human has done. I don't care if they're bought this horse at an auction as a trader. I don't care if they are a trader and they got this horse and decided it wasn't worth anything to sell. I don't care what the story is. I'm there for that individual horse, and I'm going to help that horse regardless of where it came from or what the situation was. And yeah, there's some pretty crummy people out there. There's also some people that end up in a really bad situation that can't cover the cost of euthanasia. And I'm not the one that's going to sit there and judge and say, well, I'm not going to help you with your horse
Yeah.
because you let it wander around with a broken leg for 6 months. I'm going to say, oh my God, let's do what we can for your horse to end this misery and pain, because my job is not law enforcement. My job is not to judge these owners. And do I quietly in the back of my head think, I really hope that you find a badger in your bed when you get home. But that's not my place. Judgment is not my place. My place is I'm here to help horses. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I do with the buyout program.
I know you work with law enforcement and we see a lot of cases, and it is very frustrating that horse cases aren't really prosecuted. A lot of it comes to just a lack of education, a lack of, resources. And that's where it's, just rescuing them and doing the best for them, getting them out of that bad situation. Because as long as there's a slaughter pipeline, law enforcement isn't going to actually be convicting horse cases like they should be, because they can just be like, hey, take the horse to an auction and it's gone. So I think your buyout program is fabulous, and I hope it can spread to other organizations. They're probably going to be as skeptical as I was. But in the long run, it is the reality that's really going to help a lot of horses. And then your assistant weekends and all these things that I think you've done some really groundbreaking programs within the horse welfare. So I'm just honored to have you part of the Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network and all the amazing things you do. And you're just an amazing person. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, don't sell yourself short on all of the really amazing things that you've done, and had it not been for you showing up when you did in your guidance, when you were, the guidance we needed, I mean, we wouldn't be here. I really don't think that we'd probably even be rescuing anymore. And instead of not being a rescue, we went on and assisted 300, more than 365 horses in 365 days this year.
Well, you've done amazing work, and it's everyone coming together and working together that is going to put an end to horse slaughter. And one of these days, I hope you can come with me to lobby up in Washington, D.C., because, the stronger voices we can get out there for horses will ultimately put an end to the horrificness that the slaughter pipeline is. And when that does
Oh, you
close,
tell me when and where to be, and I'll be there in a second.
awesome, awesome. Um, so I'm just so appreciative of you doing this podcast with me, and I really hope folks will head over to your social media platforms and follow. Now, I know you have a lot of them. I know you've got like the horse one, you've got the cat one, you've got, got the
Well, in
TikTok.
case you haven't watched the cat in the background this whole video, yes, our cats do have their own Facebook page, the Cats of Colorado Horse Rescue Network. So if you like funny cat pictures, which I mean, who doesn't, you can always pop over there. But yeah, our Facebook page, Colorado Horse Rescue Network, is where you're going to see most of the information on what we've got going on and what we've been up to in the news, and our world travels and all of the things that we've been doing.
All right. And you can find those links to their social media um, in the description of this video. So definitely it's down there if you're on YouTube, in the comments. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be in the post. So definitely check all that out. And Carrie, thank you so much for doing this podcast with me and spreading awareness about the amazing work you're doing.
Well, I'm really glad to be here. And now that I'm starting my own podcast, which isn't going to be like a video, we're going to do, we're just going to do probably, 30-minute sections of me ranting while I'm driving down the road. But we'll have to make you now you got to return the favor. Now you'll have to come
Okay.
and join on with me and we can rant
Rant
about
with
all of, yeah, rant about all the crazy things we've seen.
Yes. No, there's a lot we could rant about for sure. So just thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope anyone that's watching this or listening to it will head over and check out your social media platforms. So thank you so much for doing this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I hope you guys warm up there in Tennessee a little bit.